Good Friday, everyone. Welcome to Garden State Weather, New Jersey and the Northern Mid-Atlantic and National Weather News Portal. I'm meteorologist Robert Smith on the 17th of December, 2021. There's a lot of things to talk about in this broadcast. We're going to start off with the short-term review, the upstairs of the atmosphere, the state of the atmosphere right now, and what that means for you in terms of precipitation types and temperatures going forward. Let's get this rocking and rolling. I'm going to stay away from much of the news of the past week or two because there's a lot of information to cover in this video. First, I want to get into the National Cold and Flu Activity Map from FluStar. This is the latest data now being provided to us on this Friday, the 17th of December, 2021. And it shows, now there is a scaling back in New Jersey, but this is slight because there is numerous amounts of reports of COVID, whether it be the current one that's in or the Omicron version. It doesn't really matter. It's bad in New England here, and it's also bad through Pennsylvania into the Great Lakes area. That's COVID right now, and into the Central Plains and Desert Southwest as well. When we look at cold and flu, this is interesting because this shows up here in the desert, in the deep south here, of flu in the Panhandle and also into Mississippi and Alabama here, and even into the Carolinas. A lot of people reporting fever in the blues here, especially over southern New England here. This is not good. Strep is rising as well. Weather pattern is definitely crazy, so you can forget about that. Cold and flu, again, there's a lot of it going on. And of course, COVID, this is the worst of it here. Staying away from social media and the rest of the world right now in terms of anything other than meteorology. Long-term duration wintry weather. Well, we got the wrong page here. Hold on. Into the Rutgers Weather Lab we go. New Jersey Rutgers Weather Network. Temperatures above normal again in the 50s today. This is right now at 11:25 as of this broadcast. They didn't fall off too much last night either. This morning, temperatures were in the upper 40s to low and mid 50s. And let's take a look at the visible satellite here. Warm air advective high cirrus clouds overhead. But a front is passing through. I'm going to make sure that this is the latest surface chart here. And it is. Here's the cold front passing through, but notice the temperature is really not that cold behind it until you get to here, where we have a secondary trough coming in and a secondary cold front here. So the weekend is definitely looking a lot chillier, but tomorrow, that's when the precipitation overrides this boundary here and points south, and we'll get into that in a moment, but the wintry mix will be up here. If you want snow and ice, you're really going to have to go way north. This is from coolweather.com, a great site, and we're looking at national temperature records, high temperature records, either breaking or tying in the reds and yellows here, or in a couple of degrees here in the yellows that are nearing records. And we've noticed over the last 24 hours, if we take a look at this loop of above normal temperatures, and we're doing it again today. If we took a look at the past week here that fueled all the thunderstorms, tornadoes, wind damage here, December 13th, 14th, 15th here, the past week, look at all of this. And then into the East Coast too, until now. So we'll look at this right now as temperatures are in the upper 50s to low 60s here in Farmingdale, New York. The daily high temperature of 60 degrees, 60.1, and that ties the record right now this afternoon. Also in West Hampton Beach, 57.9, is getting close to the 63-year-old daily record high of 59. And other areas here, Block Island, Rhode Island is at 55, right now approaching 57.2. So you see it, but this is all going bye-bye. So we're going to go upstairs first to the stratosphere in this broadcast. This is definitely a signal here at 10 millibars in height of a strong stratospheric warming event that is going to take this polar vortex over the poles and stretch it. And the model guidance is showing it, and I've got a lot to talk about this. Here's our stratospheric warming event here. And also that typhoon that occurred over the Philippines yesterday or the day before, that's going to muck up the forecast too, and the indices, the teleconnections a little bit going forward. We'll get into that in just a moment. What does the atmosphere look like? And this is off the GFS, and you know, for future reference here, we're going to show you the European model guidance, but this is what it looks like at 70 millibars. And there's definitely a stretching here across the pole. Here is in a La Nina year, our high pressure zone here, showing even up at 70 millibars here. Then you go down to jet stream level, 250 millibars. You see the same kind of configuration. High pressure here over the Gulf, west to east flow, a buckle here in the jet structures with that atmospheric river continuing across the west, and then up towards the Great Lakes. So this looks like a nice warm event that's going on right now. And you get down to 850 millibars and you get the same kind of picture. Same kind of picture. But blocking is definitely setting up under this regime here that we see over the Arctic Circle and over into Europe as well. This is just part of what's going on, or expected to develop. Last night's run of the European model guidance at 10 millibars in the stratosphere shows us this. There's high latitude blocking here and high latitude blocking here, and that's warping the polar vortex. And as it goes further into the forecast, you can see this first bleeding into North America's central part and west coast here, as that ridge in the stratosphere begins to weaken this and stretch it out, the polar vortex. And it continues to do so on the other side of the pole as well. And by the time we get into 10 days, 240 hours out, it looks like this. So there's not a dampening of the data here. We take a look at the anomalies here, the temperature anomalies. When we start this out, you know, in the stratosphere, we're above normal. So that means below normal temperatures here at the surface. When we get out to 10 days, it's a muck. There's a lot of things going on here in the atmosphere, and we need to really pay close attention here. I'm going to use the CDAS stratospheric temperatures here at 10 millibars. It's a very strong signal off the Pacific, breaking up the polar vortex into Hudson's Bay and North America here, mainly over Canada. 30 millibars just below it, same kind of scenario is playing out. We can see this here. And underneath that, at 50 millibars here in the stratosphere, we see this slightly, more so in the higher. A lot of interesting things to look at when we're looking at the stratospheric temperature, flux, and wind forecast. When we're looking at the temperatures in the stratosphere at 30 millibars and 10 millibars, 10 millibars in the blue and 30 millibars in the red here, they're declining, but the forecast track going forward is for them to both rise, especially at 10 millibars. So, with that kind of feedback going on, we need to look at the wind and the fluxes. And this looks interesting to me. The change in the EP flux has been downgraded, but forecasted to go way, way up as we head into the latter part of the month and then decline. So there's a lot of volatility right here that's being shown up in the European GFS model guidance going forward. But this is something that, we've been on this up road here through the middle part of December, where we're finding the EP flux, the amount of energy from the troposphere into the stratosphere, at 10 millibars at 60 north, which is the EPV flux. And look at the forecast here. There's going to be a lot of things going on here. So we know that momentum from the tropics into the poles, there is upward momentum to this, and that means high latitude blocking and a difficult forecast going forward. We are in a La Nina year. Want to take a look at the teleconnections here on all model guidance here from last night. This is the North Atlantic isoscellation. So blocking mechanisms are already tanking from positive into negative on the European high resolution, the European EPS mean, and the NCEP GFS, and the ensemble here, as we get into the deep part here over the next couple of days into next week. But this is the thing that stands out to me. The ensemble high resolution European model wants to keep the NAO into the tank. So blocking is definitely setting up over Greenland and Iceland, and we can see this trend here, and that looks good. And the Arctic isoscellation, we can switch to this. This is the Arctic isoscellation. We're going to pay attention to the European model guidance and the GEM model guidance, or the GFS model guidance here. And there's a really lot of perturbedness going on here, tanking at -4 in the European high resolution model, and not so much in the mean, but still this is a signal of high latitude blocking there that's going on. The EPO is all over the place, and this is what it looks like right now. And the EPO is going negative, so we know that storm system, but it's coming up again by the 21st. And then look at all of the variables here between the European model guidance, the ensemble model guidance, and the NCEP GFS at odds with one another in the Pacific here. Not good. And the other thing that I wanted to look at, because this is going to be a transitory cold shots coming in, going out, coming in, going out from west to east across the country here. This is the North Pacific, or the Pacific North American forecast here. We're going to look at the European model guidance right now, and we have a negative Pacific North Atlantic isoscellation. In fact, this whole diagram here speaks to me of fluctuation, because you need to have a positive height ridge over here in the positive to have a trough over the east coast of the United States that surrounds itself with cold air. And we're just not seeing that. We're not seeing it right now, and it's not forecasted either. But it is showing up on the European guidance for the end of this month to head up towards a neutral state. So definitely something to consider as we head into January. So I want to start out with the European model guidance, 300 millibar winds here, jet streaks, and jet cores into them. As we head into Saturday, strong jet core over the Great Lakes into New England. Definitely not a really good situation, especially Saturday night and Sunday. There could be some icing here in southern New England and snow to the north here. Rhode Island and New York and Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, Nova Scotia. But this pattern right now, with the breaking up and the development of the breaking up of the polar vortex, shows this in two streams. This is our southern branch here. This is our polar branch here. This is our Arctic branch here. And there's still a discontinuity going into the forecast. I mean, it's very obvious here that rain is on the way for the Mid-Atlantic on Christmas night and Christmas Day under this jet structure. And again, this is just the beginning of a pattern change. 10 days out, 27th, it's a zonal flow here across the country at 250 at 300 millibars. But it's a lot of things that I'd like to look at, which is the vorticity maximums at 500 millibars. Here comes the cold front through the region Sunday night and Monday. There's a cutoff low here off the west coast. High pressure to the north here. There's lots of short waves here. Lots of short waves here in Canada. And everything is cut off between this branch and this branch. Subtropical branch, polar, Arctic branches, all separated. So as we get into Wednesday of next week, this is the southern branch energy heading off the coast, and it's not phasing with polar branch disturbance. No. And then more energy, and look at this, high pressure over the top. This is Omega block here off of the west coast of the United States and the Pacific, actually. And this downstream energy here is not playing right either. So, and then again, you look at 10 days out, it's a west to east flow. There are perturbations here in the polar jet, short waves here, and jet maxes here, but nothing really stands out here unless you're here, but not here. Down at the level of the atmosphere here on the European model guidance, showing us the precipitation types. 1028, 1028, and surface lows off the west coast. Here comes all that Pacific energy, and here we go. So tomorrow, isentropic lift event. That's what's showing up on the model guidance, because we know that by looking at this. This is isentropic lifting above cold air that's bleeding out of Canada and warm air to the south and east. So the model guidance sees this, but probably sees snow, sleet, and ice here over the Hudson River Valley, Connecticut. Yeah. And then snow further north, but nothing for New Jersey and New York. And that cold front sweeps in. And here comes another polar disturbance, another high pressure ridge off the coast. Here comes another, high pressure over low pressure Omega block kind of set up here. But it's transitory. It's very transitory. And then we get to Christmas. Again, another weak system coming through on a frontal wave, and the frontal wave is antifrontal, and more precipitation back building in behind the front here. But there is somewhat of a connection here between the polar branch and subtropical branch. I wouldn't call that great. And again, all the energy heads up north into Canada because the pattern doesn't support snowstorms here just yet, as I just showed you. National Digital Database, high temperatures for today. Again, warm in the southeast and South Florida, and of course, southwest here, and Central Plains, southern Central Plains. Cold air here. As we go through this forecast over the next couple of days, here comes that new batch of cold air coming into the Rockies and the Central Plains, the Southern Plains here, excepting Florida because this is a La Nina year with high pressure overhead. And that pretty much stays true over the next 10 days and then just relaxes again. So this is not very cold air coming through. No. Back to New Jersey regional area, Philadelphia, New York City, the I-95 corridor here, off the NAM model guidance just coming in from this morning. Again, any kind of showery precipitation and rain mixing with some sleet, maybe some freezing rain, maybe a little bit of snow here, that's going to be confined to the higher elevations here. Not seeing nothing that supports accumulating snow here in northwestern New Jersey. Here comes the cold front coming through on Sunday morning with more rain showers, a wave of low pressure on it, and then it finally clears the coast as we head into Sunday afternoon. So things look good on that point here. Snowfall, I'd be hard-pressed to say if you're going to find any. But if you did, it would be at the very highest elevations here in the Poconos. You're not going to find anything here in New Jersey. So close up with the European model guidance here into the northeastern United States. I'm not very impressed with this isentropic lift event. Could be some wet snowflakes, some sleet, some freezing rain here over the Poconos, the highest elevations here into New York and portions of Connecticut, but most of tomorrow looks like rain to me. And then the cold front comes through, and it may end as some snowflakes, but there's not going to be any accumulation here because the ground and the air mass is chilling down, but the ground is way too warm still. And the next thing that I'm not really excited about, but has my attention here, is Wednesday. And that's Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, when these two systems, again, separated, polar branch, subtropical branch here, on a cold front come through. There could be some mixing precipitation here early, mostly rain for central and southern New Jersey, and that skirts the coast, as you see here. And then, really, I'm not seeing anything that looks fantastic right now. Here's another frontal system coming in for December 24th and 25th. Again, rain in New Jersey, New York, Philadelphia, I-95 corridor, not seeing anything. And on the back side of this is the antifrontal system, so the front stalls out a little bit. Got this low pressure area here moving through Pennsylvania and New York, and plenty of rain here. So Christmas could actually be wet, but really not too much other than that, unless you went into western Pennsylvania, upstate New York, downwind the lakes here, into portions of New England. That's where, if you want snow, these are the places that you really want to be right now, going towards Christmas, and then a stiff northwest wind, and the temperatures obviously falling from above normal here to below normal here. And it's not really that cold, actually, looking at this diagram right now, post-Christmas.